What if I told you that putting down your phone and picking up a sketchbook can actually make your travel memories richer and more meaningful? There's real science behind why sketching your travels, rather than just like taking photos or videos, helps you remember and experience your trip on a deeper level. This past spring, I hosted 2 group trips to Japan with 24 incredible artists each. Leading these trips and sketching alongside everyone gave me fresh insight into why my sketchbook has become my most powerful travel companion. When I sketch, I'm not just copying what I see, I'm filtering the scene through my mood, my feelings, and my artistic choices. Sometimes I exaggerate a color, simplify shape, or highlight a detail that stood out to me. Those choices turn a simple image into a story that's uniquely mine. Like, for example, this sketch from the Nagano snow monkeys doesn't look like a photo, but it feels alive because of how I drew these baby monkeys, how I captured their movement, how they're clinging to their moms. Oh, they're so cute. And, it's how I'm interpreting these animals. Using a camera is fast and easy, but it shows what everyone else can objectively see. With a camera, you miss the things that make this moment important. The way the light hits the leaf, the vibe someone's giving off, the smell on a subway. Sketching forces you to slow down and really look. To draw something, you have to observe carefully, which means you notice details you'd never see otherwise. This deep observation is a skill you develop, and it's one of the most rewarding parts of travel sketching. A sketchbook is a place that's completely your own. You can add little written notes, thoughts, doodles, or even stick in tickets and receipts. Your sketchbook becomes this rich, multi-layered journal, not just a visual record, but a sensory and emotional one too. Honestly, I barely took any photos from my Japan trip. I probably only have like 4 pictures of myself. But I do have tons of footage of all the travelers sketching. And to be honest, when I first agreed to host an art retreat with complete strangers, I wasn't sure what to expect. How would I have the energy to connect with everybody? Like, people know me online, but I don't know anybody personally. So after spending 3 weeks in Japan with 50 amazing strangers, I can honestly say it was life-changing. There's something like super powerful about being surrounded by a community that shares your passion. And it sparked a whole new energy in me and reminded me why I love travel sketching so much. I didn't expect to feel so many emotions by the end of the trip. And that's why I'm so excited to invite you on my next adventure, a group art trip in South Korea. I'll be taking a group of artists to explore Seoul and the iconic island of Jeju. I was actually going to promote a different Korea trip here, but it sold out during the pre-release. Luckily, I planned a second one. So if you're serious about joining, my newsletter gives you early access. That's how the first one filled up so quick. So when I look back through my travel sketchbooks, I'm amazed at how vividly I remember each moment. What I was feeling, what the air smelled like, even the sounds around me. That kind of memory, you just don't get from photos. And there's actual real science behind why sketching helps you remember your travels better than just snapping photos or like jotting down notes. Number 1, drawing activates more of your brain. So when you draw, you're not just using one part of your brain. According to research from University of Waterloo, drawing activates multiple parts of the brain at once. The motor areas that control your hand movements, the visual areas that process what you see, and the memory centers that help you remember. This means drawing links movement, sight, and memory together, which makes your brain hold on to those memories much more strongly than if you were to just take a photo. Researchers call this the picture superiority effect. Basically, our brains remember pictures and drawings better than words alone. And when you're the one creating those pictures, the effect is stronger. Number 2, there's a psychology theory called dual coding, developed by Alan Pavio, which explains how our brains learn better when we combine visuals and words. So when you sketch, you're basically feeding your brain 2 kinds of information at once. The visual image of what you're drawing and the internal dialogue that you have as well. So this combo boosts your ability to remember the information later because it's stored in multiple ways, in pictures and as words. And number 3, journaling helps process emotions and lock memories. So sketching while traveling is kind of like journaling, but with pictures. Studies show that journaling isn't just about writing down facts. It helps your brain process emotions and makes your memories clearer and more vivid. Your sketchbook acts as like an emotional diary. You're not just remembering what you saw, but how you felt, and that emotional connection makes your memory stick. So sketching is actually like a mindfulness practice. It helps you be fully present with your surroundings. When you sketch, you slow down, you take a breath, and you really soak in everything. The light, the sounds, even the smells. This kind of mindful attention sharpens your sensory awareness, which means your brain is taking in way more detailed info. Let me share you a little story from my trip to Japan. We traveled a lot by train, and often those trains were so packed, it can get claustrophobic. One time we were traveling on a train for like almost an hour, and I didn't even have my sketchbook with me. So I pulled out some receipts and started sketching in whatever I saw around me. And once I shifted my focus to the challenge of capturing the people in the scene that I'm seeing, time started to fly by. Instead of feeling trapped and overwhelmed, I found myself enjoying the ride. It became like this quiet moment to chill in the middle of a busy trip, to like really be present with myself and my sketching. So before I knew it, the train ride was over and I was completely recharged. The stress from the crowd had gone away, and all because I was engaged in drawing. Let's take a break here and let me tell you about today's sponsor. I've been building my site on Squarespace for years and it's never let me down. It's so easy to make it look polished, tons of beautiful templates, simple customization, and zero coding needed. And you know I gotta be using the template Brine to set up my site. I'm telling you, I'm gonna be using Squarespace until I don't need a website anymore, which will probably never happen. And I can run my entire shop there too, from adding new products to tracking orders and sales all in one place. It's straightforward for me and my customers can pay however they want, whether it's Klarna, Apple Pay, Afterpay, PayPal, you name it. I really value having a clean, simple website that makes it easy for people to find what they need. So why not try making your own site with Squarespace's free trial? And when you're ready to launch, just use my code JackieDrushko for 10% off your first domain or website. Now let's talk about sketching a little bit more. Sketching every day pushes your skills forward and faster than you might expect. You build confidence, learn to sketch more quickly, and become way more comfortable drawing from life. And honestly, your sketches don't have to be perfect. Just showing up and practicing consistently will pay off. So when I first started my Japan trip, I couldn't imagine sketching at all. I was hosting a sketching retreat, but I was completely burnt out. The idea of forcing myself to draw felt like soul crushing. Still, like I had a workshop coming up in 3 days and I knew I had to warm up or like I would create the ugliest demo ever. So I pushed myself and I opened my sketchbook. At first, my drawings were rough, the shapes were flat, and I was still exhausted. But after a few pages, I started to find my rhythm again. And by the next day, I felt energized and excited to open up my sketchbook every morning. So that simple act of taking the first step, showing up to draw even when you don't feel like it, can open you up to the whole experience and bring you back to yourself. Sometimes the hardest part is just starting. But when you do, you find that joy, that flow, and the rhythm. Now let me share some tips to help you get started with travel sketching, no matter where you are or how busy your day is. Choosing the right sketchbook for traveling. Let's start with the sketchbook itself, because it actually really does matter. I love smooth paper for pencil and ink sketching. It lets your lines flow nicely without like snagging. And I always bring a hardcover book. Trust me, you don't want a flimsy cover when you're on the go and you don't have a hard surface to draw on. A hardcover gives you the sturdy support, and you need it. Trust me. Also, I prefer bound books over spiral bound ones. Spirals let the pages move around too much, and if you're using a pencil, the pages just smudge. There's no going around that. Size and weight are balanced. I love big sketchbooks. Sometimes I just use a clipboard with printer paper. You know, I love the space to spread out and not feel cramped, but practically on a trip, a small sketchbook is way more useful. It fits easily in your bag and is less intimidating to open and draw anywhere. Plus, I always buy a new sketchbook whenever I travel and I start filling it in right away. Some people collect postcards or magnets, but for me, filling that book with sketches is my favorite way to remember a place. Managing your sketching time on the go. Fitting sketching into a busy travel day is definitely a challenge, but it doesn't have to be. Quick 5-minute gestures can be really fun and energetic, just capturing that essence on the fly. I also love to find longer pockets of time, like an hour in a busy cafe or sitting on a bench in a park where I can watch people and sketch all the different personalities that walk by. It's kind of like people watching, and it helps you understand the culture a little bit more too, right? I also use waiting times, like on trains and cafes or online, as little breaks to draw on as well. It's where I pull out my sketchbook and doodle or capture a quick little scene. And when you're tired or uninspired, the hardest part is just showing up. Sometimes I open my sketchbook with no pressure to draw. I'll start scribbling and it slowly turns into a drawing of one person and then two, and then before I know it, I'm in the flow. But other times I sit with it open for 10 minutes and then I close it, and that's okay too. Experimenting with different mediums while traveling. One of my favorite things about travel sketching is experimenting with different mediums. Brush pens, water-based markers, colored pencils, layering receipts and papers. Mixing them all brings so much life and energy to a sketch. In Japan, being in the stationery capital of the world was like a dream. Traveling with a group of artists meant I got to try out markers and brush pens that I wouldn't have normally brought myself. Some friends would just sometimes hand me a new tool to draw with. And then my sketches felt like fresh and new and different. I experimented so much by just trying out new mediums like this. So keep your supplies light, but stay open. Sometimes the best art materials find you along the way. How to build a travel sketching habit. Building a daily sketching habit while traveling is key. Being in a group where everyone sketches definitely helps, but if you're solo, keep a small sketchbook and one drawing tool like a pencil or pen with you at all times. So even when you just have like 10 minutes on the train or you're waiting for a meal, having your supplies handy mean you're ready when the inspiration hits you, right? So I like to set many challenges or goals for myself. So maybe one day I focus on loosening up and not caring about the result. The next day I challenge myself to draw exactly what I see. Then the next day I push myself to stylize and exaggerate shapes. Or next day focus on architecture. These goals keep things like fresh and give me a clear purpose, which helps me learn faster and stay motivated. Also, don't forget journaling. I often write what's happening around me and how I'm feeling alongside my sketches. And then, that turns my sketchbook into more of a true travel diary. Capturing movement and people quickly. People are one of the trickiest subjects because they move so fast. So gesture drawing is your best friend here. You want to do quick, loose lines that capture the overall movement and the energy rather than details. So sometimes I catch a quick glimpse of someone and then finish the drawing from memory, focusing on like the vibe they gave me rather than the exact anatomy that I saw. So the goal is to capture personality and emotion with as few lines as possible. So don't get caught up in the perfection of it. That's not what this is about. It's all about the feeling. So travel sketching has really changed how I experience the world, making all my memories like richer and more meaningful. So if you're ready to slow down and bring your own creativity along, I want to invite you to join me on my next group art trip to South Korea. If that sounds like something you want to be a part of, check out the link in the description for all the details. And be sure to sign up for my newsletter for early access. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.